Hey, what's up everybody? In today's video, I want to talk about what I think is one of the hardest things about living here in New York City that just isn't talked about very often. If this is your first time on my channel, then hey, my name is Cameron Galbraith. I am a finance professional living here in New York City. I make tons of content about finance, careers, in New York, so definitely subscribe so you don't miss a video. But getting back to the motive of today's video, this has just been something I've been thinking about for a while, and I've had some conversations with friends, and I think it just is one of those things that is just baked into the culture of New York that for those of us here, it's just accepted as a way of life, but it is pretty different. And what I'm referring to is just how successful everybody here is in New York. I know that's probably a really weird and almost pretentious thing to say, but I think when you're in New York, you're in such a microcosm of people, at least in certain circles. It's so easy to play the comparison game. You're always comparing your salary to the person across the hall, or your company compared to theirs, or the school you went to compared to theirs, or where you went on your vacation over the summer and where they went. I understand this is an aspect of life no matter where you are post-graduation, but I think it's certainly heightened here in New York just because of the concentration of income in certain circles. Like for me, I work in finance, I'm very much a part of that culture, so I see that firsthand. And this has been something that I've really tried to overcome and feel comfortable with my income level, with my plans just in general, because when I look at it holistically, I couldn't be in a better position. I'm living a dream right now. Like, this is the life that I live, is the life I always dreamed of in college and certainly high school. But then it's like you're here and you're in the moment and you always want more. And so that's one of my goals of 2024, is to just be content with what I have, because New York is a place where no one is content, and that can be super motivating, and that's what allows you to work those late nights and grind away at YouTube videos at 10:30. But at the same time, that's not what life is all about. But kind of just going back to the initial idea of this video, the hardest thing about New York is everybody is so talented and at the top of their game. It makes it just really hard to not compare yourself. And an example that I used when I was first talking about this to somebody was the NBA or the NFL, any professional sports league. And again, this will be a little bit of a stretch, but bear with me here. Being in New York and working in finance in New York, that's what every finance major in the world, that's where they would love to work, in New York City on Wall Street, although all the firms are basically Midtown now. That's what everybody wants. So when you look at it, the people who actually did make it there, they were the studs at their school. They had the good grades, they were involved on campus, they were able to interview well, maybe they're pretty social, they had a good network. Most likely they came from a good school. And so then you zoom out there, they went to a great school, they had a good GPA, good test scores, good extracurriculars in high school. And the example is similar to the NBA, because in the NBA, I mean, those people were the absolute studs on their high school basketball team. They were the best person in their city, the best person in their state, the best person in their school. Then they go to college, they're the best person on their team, the best person on their league. And now they make it to the NBA and they're nothing, they're a role player. I think that's kind of similar to how it is in New York for certain industries. You've kind of grown up being that smartest person in the room, and you're super confident about where you stand and what your future looks like. And then you come to New York and everybody is that person. And it just makes you kind of evaluate where you are a little bit more, which again, like I said, can be good or bad, but that's just something that you wouldn't necessarily experience elsewhere. And to be fair, New York is the only place I've lived since graduating college, so I can't really compare what New York is to Miami or anywhere else, but I think overall, New York is just the most competitive place to be. That was my experience applying for roles and kind of how it's appeared in conversations I have with other students who are trying to do the same. Like I said, everybody wants to be in New York. And it doesn't just apply to finance, it applies to marketing, advertising, design, fashion, PR. Everybody wants to be in New York. So you have to just be that much better in order to get those roles. And because you have to be that top quartile of people, once you get there, everybody else is that same person. So everybody's clawing for those small positions, those small promotions, and it's a dog-eat-dog world. It really is. And it's certainly a first world problem, silver spoon issues, but it's just something I think needs to be talked about. And when people ask me what the hardest thing about living in New York is, like, it's that. Yeah, I pay a lot of money for my rent and taxes suck and all of that, but I think for me, like, my own perspective of how I'm doing is so different here than if I were living anywhere else. And that's just because I literally see people my age who are making 5 times as much money, who went to the absolute best schools all of their life, who are crazy, wicked smart, and it's just different. But again, I think that's what allows you to grow. It's what allows you to evolve. But it's just one of those things that is a growing pain. So I'm not really sure how to combat this. Like I said, I'm gonna try my best in 2024 to just have more gratitude for the life that I live. I think I've always done a relatively good job of this, but it's just important to zoom out. And I always just do that by not comparing myself to others, but comparing myself to where I was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And that's what then allows me to see how far I've come and be so grateful for the life that I live. So that's the energy I'm trying to have for 2024, but it's a constant, not a constant struggle, but it is something you have to be pretty cognitive of. So that's the video. I'm curious if any of you who live in New York or maybe live elsewhere have experienced this too. This could just be confirmation bias and me thinking this is strictly New York, but I think the data would back it up. I mean, in terms of the top 1% of income in New York compared to the top 1% income in the US. And again, I know there's an issue of statistics there, but the median income elsewhere, all of that, I think I would hope would agree with me. I could be wrong, but it's just so interesting. And like I said, one of those things that I just don't think it's talked about too often. So like I said, would love to hear your comments. Just wanted to make this video just because it's been something that's been on my mind and think it's an interesting topic. I'm always really fascinated by socioeconomics and all of that. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite books. So anything kind of Gladwell-esque is really interesting to me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble here for 10 minutes or so, but that's gonna wrap it up. Subscribe to this channel if you want more content similar to this, and I will be back with another video in a few days. Peace.